Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intelligent Moron with Silva. Today is Thursday, October 21st. Got a two for today. Like I said, I told you guys last week I was going to hit the theaters this week, and I did. I ended up seeing No Time to Die and The Last Duel, so get ready for two movie reviews tonight. Got a little bit of a good taste of a good movie theater experience, actually, in the terms of service, in the terms of food and beverage. I think that the freestyle machine should be necessary in any movie theater and in any restaurant or fast food establishment. We need a freestyle self-serving machine. And the reason why is because, especially at a movie theater, how many times do you go to the movies, or you see somebody go to the movies, and there's just like a big line of people waiting for a refill on their soda? And you already know that there's a bunch of showings that day. At the same time, people are running late. People are trying to get their snacks or their drinks or, whatever they want. And there's just a big line at the snack bar. And you're like, you know what? I wish that they had the machines, out, not behind the counter, not behind where you have to go up to an employee and say, hey, can I get a refill of soda? Because I went to a theater that has the freestyle machines on the side, and it's a lifesaver, and it's a time saver, because whenever I go, or depending on the theater, if it does have a soda machine in the back, behind the cash register, behind the counter, it's always a big jumbled up line and a big mob of people wanting to get their food in the first place, and just to get refills, because I think people typically get refills on soda more than popcorn, more than any other thing at the movie theater, and that having a freaking a freestyle machine would just solve all those problems. Now, I do understand that I believe it's only Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola company, that makes the freestyle machines. So if you go to a movie theater that's I know Regal, I believe, is the Pepsi company. So, and I don't believe that they have freestyle machines, but you can still get a soda machine that's outside of or behind the counter, or not behind, but not in front of the counter, I guess you could say. That way, you don't have to worry about people who want refills on drinks to be there. You can limit that just to popcorn refills, which usually isn't as many as drink refills, I think, in my experiences. Usually when I get a refill, it's for a drink. Usually not popcorn, because usually I don't get that much popcorn. And then if I'm I never like to leave my seat during the movies either. I just feel like it's I'm going to miss something. I don't want to chance it. And if it's a crowded movie theater, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that, because I like to sit in the middle, get all the good acoustics, and, try to have the best experience that I can possibly have. I paid it for a ticket. I went during a day show, and it wasn't as expensive as it would be for a premium, nighttime showing. But it was still, I'm not going to sit back and, miss out on the movie, because, I just don't like doing that. I say that as I'm sipping on this nice Pepsi from a Taco Bell, right? I had Taco Bell tonight. Delicious. And it's hitting well. You ever had that time when a soda... I'm not the biggest soda drinker anymore. I used to be. But now I'm just kind of I've kind of been it's just whatever nowadays. It's sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. And for the most parts, I don't want to deal with the spiciness of it. It's not really spicy, but it's very carbonated, and I'm I don't enjoy carpet bombing my throat or my mouth with the soda carbonation. I'm just whatever, I'll have some water maybe, or a beer or something like that. Not as carbonated. I know some people that they love soda so much, they love that feeling of the burn, the sensation, but I'm I'm not about that anymore. I was, but not anymore. But this Pepsi is hitting different though. It tastes super good. Super fresh, delicious. It's from a machine at my Taco Bell, but it's actually perfect. Like, when you get like a soda that's got like a little too much carbonation or maybe not enough syrup or, and it's terrible. And it ruins your day, it ruins your night or whatever. I remember one time I got like a Sprite. I was at a theater one time. This was like years ago. And I got a Sprite. One of my favorite sodas, even still to this day. I drink it more frequently than like Coke or Pepsi or anything else. But I got it, and I'm like, I was so ready to just devour this Sprite. And I take one sip, one big sip, actually, one big slurp, and just bitterness, like nothing. I was just like, oh my God, this is terrible. Now, you went back and say there's no syrup and you can do it because it was before the movie, but like, if you go to like a fast food restaurant, right, and you're on the road, right, and it's just going to be like a quick stop just to get something to eat, something to drink, and then you're like, boom, on your way back on the freeway, whatever. You're just kind of nibbling on their burger, whatever, and just like, staying alive, staying, not dying of hunger or dying of thirst. You take a swig of that, that soda that's ice cold, and it looks perfect, but you take a sip, you're like, oh no, it's terrible. It's awful. Either it doesn't taste good, like it's just like there's no carbonation, or there's just, it's super flat. I've had that too when it's flat as well. That's also a very big bummer. And sometimes it just doesn't taste good. Like the syrup is just not good, and you're just like, son of a gun. My day's ruined. But I mentioned that I had Taco Bell, and I got that new item today. I got the Cantina Crispy Melt Taco. If you don't know what it is, it's a taco with a new and improved shell, by the way. I did not know this. It's a new and improved shell. It's got I'm going to build it up from, bottom to top on the layers of the taco. It goes like this cheesy, melty bottom, like almost like a nacho cheese, but it's a little bit different. It's got like yellow cheeses and white cheeses melted, and then it's got the ground beef, the signature Taco Bell ground beef that's like can be very flavorful, but could also taste like nothing sometimes, and sometimes tastes very bad. And then you get the layer of sour cream, which I'm a big fan of. I love sour cream. And then you get lettuce, tomatoes, and cheese. And I just had that. I just had that like right now, and it's delicious. I mean, like it's actually like the taco itself. If you've been a Taco Bell eater before, like you eat in Taco Bell, and like how Taco Bell sometimes, if you get it and then you got to drive home. And if that's going to be like a long drive, whatever it may be, the reality sets into that Taco Bell. What I mean is, the shells on those tacos, for some reason, the meat just seeps through every time. If it's like a long wait, they just burn and melt that taco shell. And I don't remember ever doing that. Like maybe like God, when I was a kid eating Taco Bell. But I realized that more with the Doritos tacos, the Doritos Locos tacos, and I was just like, oh, this is weird. And then it kind of transferred to the actual regular taco shells, and I was just like, okay, maybe the taco shells are just not good. No, but not with this one, dude. Not the case. Maybe it's because the first layer is cheese and it's not meat. But the taco shell is also, it's crispier. It's a little bit thicker, and it just feels like it's a better quality taco, I have to say. I mean, I was skeptical about it. I was just like, is this going to be good? Is it going to be, garbage? Because I actually enjoy a lot of Taco Bell's promotions. I love the Doritos Locos Taco. I love their quesarito. I love their the rolled chicken tacos. I think those are excellent. Their naked chicken chalupa. Their fries are good. I love their I actually really, really liked their chicken sandwich taco, chicken taco sandwich, whatever it was called that they just had. I thought that was really good. I thought it was actually a pretty tasting, good tasting chicken. And I think I got the original one, the regular one that wasn't spicy, but it was still very, very good. Even though I'm mainly a spicy chicken, guy, that's my preference. But it was good. It was delicious. I thought it was well worth the money. It's kind of small though. It's not very big. Think of it like it might be like the size of like the palm of your hand, that size, or maybe a little bit smaller or bigger. But it's decent. It's really good, and I think most people will enjoy this taco. I think people might, taste this taco and be like, well, you got to make this an actual thing. Or you got to give these shells on every taco now, because they've always been talking about improving their menu, making it better quality food, maybe healthier, maybe whether it be healthier or just better quality. But I'm thinking like, dude, these shells, these are the real deal, man. Like they're crunchier, they taste better. I was actually impressed with a taco shell from Taco Bell, because again, if you've been eating Taco Bell from as long as I have, which has been more than 2 decades, then you know that the shells are not that great. The basic ass shells that they have right now are just not that great. But actually, I recommend this, the Cantina Crispy Melt Taco. I recommend you trying it, because it's actually a pretty well-made taco, I have to say. And I know that you might have this thing about if you're like me, when you eat fast food, when you go out to eat, and you pick something up, you always think that, is it just my location, or is it just this, product in general? Because I've had that feeling with KFC. The KFC around where I live has been known for not being very good, and I just kind of that kind of just transfers to me thinking that KFC is just trash. That might be the case, but that also might not be the case. Maybe KFC is just really bad, and I don't have the taste for it anymore. I don't have the urge for it, and it's just not my thing anymore. I'm not sure, but I need to find out, because that's something in my brain that just kind of just makes me not want to get much fast food anymore, or at least the ones that are nearby me. If I were to go somewhere else and try their Taco Bell or their KFC, it might be better or it might be worse. I'm really not sure. But that does prove one thing, though. It proves that if it is just that one place is just damaging the reputation and the sales of that establishment. It really is. It's not good. And that needs to change. I'm not trying to be like a Karen, or trying to be this is going to be a rant or something like that. No, it's not. It's just I don't like feeling that way about my establishments that I used to love that have begun to fail me. I think that we can all get behind that. Again, this new thing is good. Check it out. I think it's worth it. Is it the cheesy gordita crunch? Is it the quesarito? Is it as good as those two? In my opinion, no. But those are just legendary legendary items from Taco Bell that I don't think could ever be topped. Maybe if this sticks around and it improves and it can get better with more people trying it and the demand is high, possibly. I think that what they should get rid of, though, and I used to love this thing for a while. I mean, really love it. It used to be my thing for at least 3 years. And that's the beefy 5-layer burrito. The beefy 5-layer burrito used to be amazing. It used to be actually layered, I think. And nowadays, when you get this thing, it honestly just feels like a bunch of sludge wrapped up in a burrito. And it's just not very good anymore. And it's disappointing, because it used to be really, really good. I remember it used to be very meaty with the right amount of beans and cheese and sour cream and nacho cheese, because if you don't know the layers, I believe that these are the layers. Ground beef, beans, sour cream, shredded cheese, and then nacho cheese. Now, I thought that there used to be rice in it. I could be wrong, but I could have swore they had rice, but my memory is failing me right now, but at this moment, but I could be wrong. But nowadays it's just there's a lot of more bean juice in it, if that makes sense. Not even really beans, just a lot of bean juice and meat juice, and not as much of the actual meat and the beans in it. And it just feels sludgy, and I'm just this used to be so good. It really did. And yeah, that's Taco Bell. But, moving on, I was not ranting, but like I mentioned, I went to the theater. I owed it to you, the audience, the listeners, that I was behind on my reviews, and I was behind on my movie-going experience, and just, watching movies, because I love movies, and there's a two for today. A twofer. We got a twofer. I went and saw in a not a big chain theater again like this. It's a local theater, or more local than a like a big chain like AMC or Regal. And I saw No Time to Die and The Last Duel. And I gotta say, both very, very good movies. Now we're gonna get to the reviews on both of them right now. But if you haven't seen any of these movies yet, and you've been wanting to go to the movie theater, but you're like, what's good out here? If you're like more of a casual, like you're waiting for the next Marvel movie or the next big franchise, or if you're not really into James Bond or maybe like other movies like The Last Duel, I highly recommend that you actually check out both of these movies while you still can, because we're gonna be getting Dune next this week. Then we're going to be getting The Eternals, and then we're going to be getting Ghostbusters Afterlife. So if you can watch these movies, within the next week or two, maybe even week and a half, depending on how, if they want to keep their movies in there because, other competition is coming up. It's ramping up in the movie scene right now. So if you want to check out these movies, I highly recommend it that you check them out this weekend before the big movies start coming out. So the review, No Time to Die. Starring, again, if you've been watching James Bond movies for the past decade and a half, I think the first one was in 2006, of Daniel Craig's, I believe it was. Daniel Craig returns as James Bond again. Anna de Armas is in this movie. Again, this is No Time to Die. If you're not aware of James Bond series, this is the 5th installment with Daniel Craig as James Bond. And my thoughts on this were actually very, very positive. Now, was I expecting it to be as good as Skyfall? No, I don't think so. But was I expecting it to be better than Spectre? Yeah, I was, and it most definitely is. It most definitely is. The movie has James Bond has never been cooler, I think, than in this movie right here. I mean, if you don't know James Bond, if you don't know what he is, he's a really, really cool super spy agent that works for MI6, and he's had so many renditions of his movies, and the franchise has been going for decades. With actors like Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig, helming the character of James Bond as the womanizer, the badass spy, the gadget guy, the cool guy, the protagonist of these movies. And I quite enjoy that. I think it's really fun to see that because we don't really get a whole lot of coolness in our movie characters that much anymore. Like they're good guys, but there's something about James Bond that's just so damn cool. Like the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he just interacts with people. He's just so cool with his gadgets, his weapons. He's a really, really cool guy. And nothing slaps more. Nothing gets me more. Nothing is cooler, I think, than seeing a James Bond movie and then hearing the James Bond theme play. I mean, that's just so cool. Like, I haven't seen a James Bond movie again since Spectre. But it's just so cool. And it's great to see it in the theaters, too, because you get the surround sound, the big screen, the big experience of seeing a James Bond movie, and it's really, really good. It's so much fun. Now to the actual review. The movie is about 2 hours and 43 minutes long. Now that might sound long to you, and it might sound long to many people. But really, for me, in my case, it doesn't matter how long the movie is, as long as it doesn't feel long. It could be 3.5 hours, but if it blows by fast, if the story's that good, and if it's that engaging, it's going to feel like nothing to me. And that's what I felt with this movie. It is paced, and it is told in such a brisk, not brisk, but it's just done in such a well way that it doesn't feel long at all. In fact, it kind of breezed by me, I gotta say. Like, I checked my watch like one time, and I was like, it was almost about to be over. I'm like, oh shit, that went by so fast. It's written very well. The characters are very well done. The new characters are good. The old ones are still very, very memorable. It's a very good movie, although I do have a problem with the main villain. Now, if you've seen the trailers, the main villain being Rami Malek, I just think that in this movie in particular, like, you know that expression, that cliche that always sounds like a villain from a Bond movie. That is kind of what I'm getting in, like a straight, and that's not like to be like a big gripe about it, but it's just like, oh, that's like very expected of what he would do, right? He is a Bond movie in a Bond movie, no shit, Sherlock. But it's just, I don't know, it did feel like that cliche was like 100% true. And I just felt like the villain in this movie was just kind of weak, in my opinion. Wasn't the strongest. Like, especially if you remember back in the day, Skyfall, when they introduced Christoph Waltz as the villain, that was incredible. Like, that movie was amazing. This one, they're getting there with the villains. They're getting back to that form, but it's not as strong as Christoph was. Rami's very, very good. He's an incredible actor. But there's just something about Christoph when he gets into those roles and those like particular villain roles, you know, whether it be this, Inglourious Bastards, and even not as a villain in a Django Unchained. He's incredible. I mean, he is one of the best actors working today, and he's like, so for me, he's such an under the radar actor, underrated actor, because when you talk about great actors, I just feel like he doesn't really show up in most conversations. Like, he's just kind of like, you expect that, and it's like, yeah, he's great, but it's like, no, dude, this guy's amazing. Like, he's so damn good. And of course, you can't have a good Bond movie without a good James Bond. And I'm here to say that even though that he's already stated that he didn't want to do this movie, he was done, he was tired, and that he was going to make sure that this one, that he said, you know, before this movie was even released, that he was going to make sure that this was going to be his last Bond movie. Daniel Craig, again, delivers a great and cool James Bond performance. I mean, he just seems like, in my opinion, I mean, and this is like really like the only James Bond I've really ever seen. I mean, I'm sure if I went back to see Sean Connery or Pierce Brosnan or even there's another one I'm forgetting his name. I think it's Tom something. I'm forgetting it, but I'm sure if I watch them, they're not going to be as cool as Daniel Craig is. Daniel Craig is just awesome. He's just so cool and slick. But he's great in it. It's a great movie. It's a great time. Even if you're not really into James Bond and you're just like, what am I gonna watch? What's out there that's, you know, not the superhero movie? And I know that James Bond is a franchise, but we don't get it every year or every 6 months or another you know, story in like the MCU like that. It is a franchise. It is big. It is a big character, but it's not like overly, you know, oversaturated like Marvel or DC is. So I'd highly recommend that you check this movie out. It's very good. Again, it is a long movie if you look at the time by itself, but I guarantee you, once you get into it, it's the pacing again in this movie is just a shining achievement. There's a couple of action sequences that are breathtaking, and one in particular for me that just was kind of flat and a bit of a dud. But again, you just like a few gripes that, like I said, a couple action scenes were kind of a dud, and the villain overall was just not as strong as I think that the previous Bond villain had, and that being Christoph Waltz. But overall, I tweeted this when I saw it yesterday or on Tuesday, and I'll say it again. I think that this movie is a great movie. I gave it an 8.3 out of 10. Highly, highly, highly recommend it, and highly think that you'll enjoy it. Even if you're not a fan of James Bond, give it a shot. You might enjoy this, and you don't really need to know all that much about the previous Bond movies. He's done 4 other, you know, in this rendition of James Bond. You don't really need to know all that much about this one to enjoy it, which is a good thing if you're a casual audience member. But if you do want to know, it wouldn't hurt you to watch a couple of those movies. They're really good. Highly recommend it. Like I said, this is going to be a twofer. Got 2 movie reviews this week. Was actually very happy I was able to see this, and you know, I got news around this movie that it was being pulled from theaters. That it was being pulled too early because it just came out, and if you don't know what it's called The Last Duel. Directed by Ridley Scott, his newest epic. I was hearing that it was getting pulled from theaters because, just not making enough money or whatever. I think that was it. It just wasn't making enough money, and like it was only in theaters, right? It wasn't being partnered with a streaming service or whatever. It was just going out to theaters, which is also what James Bond is doing, but obviously made a lot more money than The Last Duel. But anyway, to The Last Duel. If you're a fan of Ridley Scott, if you enjoy his movies and what he's done for filmmaking, for storytelling, for creation, just imaginary filmmaking, right? And this is based off a true story. But this is probably his most epic-looking epic that he's ever made. And what I mean by that is the production value of this movie is just off the chain. It is through the roof with this movie. I mean, it is set in the 14th century, and there's 14th century France you're seeing castles, you're seeing villages, peasants, knights, squires, kings, lords. I mean, this movie just looks like it's taken right out of Game of Thrones. Like you could actually like this movie's production value and how they were able to recapture that time period, the best of their ability. It was just absolutely incredible. It was incredible because I haven't seen like a movie that looked that good in a while. Like in terms of just the set design, costumes and makeup, and it was just amazing to watch. Like, and it looked like they had like very little CGI. It looked like everything was shot in camera. And I was just telling my brother, like, dude, like this movie just looked amazing. Like it was like, if you've seen the trailers, like it's like taking place in medieval times. There's all this stuff. There's, like I said, castles. It's snowing all the time. It's foggy. It's damp. It's wet. It's rainy. I mean, the movie just looks amazing. And the fact that it was, it's a 2.5 hour movie, it takes you back to old school filmmaking and just shooting what you have and making everything to fit, shooting everything in camera and not doing so much in like CGI or post-production and all that. Like it's just a very good taste to like go back and like see how those movies are made. And it's incredible, and it's also backed up with a great story. I think the story is about. You're gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna butcher these names so much because I don't speak French and I don't have a French accent. But I'll do my best. If you don't know, the movie stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver, Jodie Comer, really an incredible cast, I must say, to add on to the production value, the acting ability, the performances, all that make this movie very good. That make this movie, I think, one of his better epics. I think his best epic, since Gladiator. Like the best period piece movie that I've seen in a while. No joke. But yeah, getting on to who these people are. Again, Matt Damon plays Sir Jean de Courrèges. I don't speak French. Adam Driver plays Jacques Legris. Jodie Comer plays Marguerite de Courrèges. I don't know. And then Ben Affleck as Pierre de Alençon. But yeah, again, this is set in France. In medieval times, right before the Crusades, and it's about really like Matt Damon's wife, Marguerite, is raped by Adam Driver's character, Jacques Legris, and I won't lie to you, it's dark subject matter. It is a dark movie, which might be why a lot of people aren't seeing it. And it's also about rape, really. I mean, the story is about a man raping a woman and her having to go to the courts and go to all, the extents and get the husband's approval that he'll support her and all that to, make sure that she's, tried and then put to going through the laws of that time period, which, and if you read history or seen learned about history, those times for women are pretty much the worst times ever. She has like no rights. She can't do anything unless her husband does something to help her aid it to happen. Hence, she has to like basically beg for Matt Damon, her husband, to get the court to get this trial starting, and then which ensues that Adam Driver has to duel Matt Damon because in a fight to the death to see who's telling the truth. Like if they say like if the truth will prevail, whoever wins is the truth, whether it be Matt Damon who wins or Adam Driver who wins. They say like God will decide who is the telling the truth by who wins the duel. Which, I mean, if you watch the trailer, like just things need to happen in order for like the movie to play out, right? Like it's basically deadlined in the trailer, like what the plot is, what the main thing has happened and how it's gonna go down. Now you don't know who wins or who loses, and I won't spoil that here, but like you kind of know the gist of it. And walking into it and watching the movie and getting into the characters and seeing the perspectives, and because the movie does an interesting thing. It breaks the movie down into 3 chapters. Now, there's not really an intermission, but there's like a time card slotted during like every chapter of the movie, which I thought that was interesting because it kind of does like a Groundhog Day type of thing where you kind of relive that day from a different perspective and period of time you lived in it, watch it through another person's eyes, which I thought would have been kind of repetitive. But at the end of the day, I was just like, this is actually working very well to tell the story because it goes from Matt Damon to Adam Driver, Ben Affleck, and then Jodie Comer in all that. And it's very well done with great action sequences. I mean, if you're a big fan of Ridley Scott and you loved Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven and even this, I mean, you're just going to be in for a treat of action sequences in medieval times with swords and shields and axes and spears. I mean, this guy brings it every time with this kind of filmmaking. I mean, he's just the god at it. I don't think that anybody does it like better than Ridley Scott with this type of filmmaking. It's very compelling. It's very in your face. It's very gritty. Again, the movie's rated R. It's very grim too, which it should be because the subject matter is, basically rape, and you can't really you can't make a movie that's lighthearted about it. It's just not going to be a very uplifting watch. It's a dark movie, and I think that was a big risk, and I think that's a big risk in making movies. Movies today usually aren't very sad. They're very uplifting. They're very not as realistic and not as they're just very made for mass audiences. And I think that with this movie being very dark and a dark subject matter and just like again, like I said, basically about rape, probably drove some people not wanting to watch it. I mean, I watch it because I enjoy Ridley Scott's films. I love Matt Damon and Adam Driver and Ben Affleck, and even now, Jodie Comer did incredible in this movie, and she was like the main anchor of the movie. She was incredible. She was brilliant. I've never seen her in any movie before. I just looked up her filmography. She was Rey's mom in The Rise of Skywalker, The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9. She was in Free Guy. I didn't see Free Guy, but I was just absolutely stunned of how great she was in this part of Marguerite. And also Ben Affleck, Matt Damon is also amazing. Adam Driver killed this role. It's like this guy can do any role, I think. I mean, you probably know him. He was in Star Wars as Kylo Ren. He was in Marriage Story. He's going to be in the Gucci movie, the Last Gucci or whatever, or no, the House of Gucci. My bad. And now he's in this, and like the dude is just a chameleon. He can do anything, and he does it in such a well performed and composed way. that it just he's so fun to watch because he doesn't. I never see Adam Driver. I just see his character, and I'm just always blown away of how good he is at this. And he's gonna be in so many things, man. He's already in a lot of things, but he might be like the next like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like he's that good. He's really, really good in this movie, along with Jodie Comer and Matt Damon. Now we move on to Ben Affleck, who I always enjoy. I like Ben Affleck in his movies, when he's playing a character, like whether it be Batman or somebody else, like his character in The Way Back also. But I think in this movie, now it might have been because he got a haircut or that he lost weight, maybe both of them, but I didn't see him as his character. I just saw Ben Affleck. In particular, I saw Ben Affleck from Good Will Hunting in this movie. I don't know what it was, but everybody else I was cool with, I thought they were really good. I just couldn't get past Ben Affleck. I'm just like, dude, this guy's he's just playing himself. Now, I could be wrong. I could be, other people might think that I'm wrong or that he was acting, but I didn't I didn't really see that character. I just saw Ben Affleck the entire time, which isn't horrible. It's just like I just thought that it was kind of, it took me out of the movie a bit. Like he delivered lines like he would normally talk, I think, whereas everybody else did not. And I thought that was kind of weird. But that being said, the performances are top notch, and it's a great shot movie, shot very well, composed well, told very brilliantly. It doesn't get too repetitive. It doesn't get too stale. Again, the movie is 2.5 hours long, but it did not feel like that at all. It also went by very fast because you are intrigued to see how the story plays out, and what happens in the end. With that being said, did it blow me away? No, not really. It is, again, a Ridley Scott film, which, again, if you've seen his other movies like Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, and even this, they all kind of look and feel the same. Like, he didn't, like, change the way he filmed it. He didn't change the way that he took on battle scenes. He didn't really change much about it. But that being said, that's not a bad thing. It's just that I'm used to seeing it, and that it like I said, it didn't blow me away, but that doesn't mean it's not great though. It's still so good. And again, I think you should see it because it's done very well. It really is. I think it's worth your time. I think that it's really it's dark. I will say that it's extremely dark, unsettling, and it's pretty gory. It's kind of gruesome, but it's an epic though. Like the way it's, again, like I said, it's shot. It's done so well that I think that you have to see it in theaters because you don't get these kind of movies that often. Like either of these movies, you don't get James Bond movies all that much. You don't. When's the last time you got like a Ridley Scott epic like this on this caliber that has this potential and this amount of buzz on it being that good? Like, we're so conditioned to be watching very commercial 2-hour movies of like, we got the plot, the hero, the middle struggle, the end struggle, the resolve, the ending, and all that. Like, I feel like these two movies right here, even though that James Bond is a franchise, that they don't go the formulaic path of a blockbuster movie, or even like just any theater movie at all, and they're just a breath of fresh air and back to old school filmmaking that just make your movie. Like, don't worry about the time constraints. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about the way that you're gonna make the story to be, like I said, commercial. Just make your movie. Make the best movie that you can, and people will see it. And I know that it's just, everybody, again, like the general public is so conditioned to see these type of movies. Like Marvel does a great job of making those very commercialized movies, even not even just Marvel, but like any ordinary action movie type of thing, big franchise, even like Star Wars and even like DC, Marvel, they all, they're very they're just the same all the time. These ones you don't get that often. So take advantage. Go see these in theaters because you might not get some of these. The day these movies are going to be not in theaters when in the future. I can tell you that. If Marvel keeps chugging, if DC gets rolling, if the big franchises keep making their same formulaic movies again, you might not get that many of these type of movies. Now, you're saying James Bond is a franchise. Yes, I know that, but it doesn't play into those same type of things as like a Marvel does. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But those movies I feel like are just a tad, no, not a tad, but they're smarter than the Marvel movies. They're not as predictable as Marvel. They're not as predictable as DC. They're a little bit more complicated, which I think we need to start seeing more of. We need to start seeing more of movies that actually are interesting, but not super confusing. I'm not saying like make like another Tenet, which I thought was incredibly confusing, but just make like a movie that doesn't follow the same formulaic success rubric that they all sort of do nowadays. 2 hours, just kind of action, dumb plot. You don't need to pay attention. Just watch the explosion and then eat your popcorn, then go home. Like, I just want a little bit more than that with movies today. I think we can make a comeback with those type of movies, but it's very, very hard to turn down that formula that just basically prints out money for Marvel. I mean, I guess we can go on to another one. This is going to be number 3. I didn't review it on Twitter, but I guess I could review it here. Just because it's an older movie and it's already been in theaters, and usually with the tweets, I usually tweet only out like very recent movies that I've seen that have recently came out, and I see them, just because it's what's circling Twitter at the moment. I'm just like, I'm not gonna tweet it out if it's like if it's already been past its time. But I did see Black Widow on Disney Plus, and I thoroughly thought that it was thoroughly okay. It's a thoroughly okay movie. It does hurt that I already know that, spoiler alert, I won't spoil the movie, but like the actual movie, but everybody already knows that Black Widow's already dead. She's sacrificed herself and all that, and she did what she had to do in Endgame, and she's now dead. That being said, that did kind of, not make it as impactful as I thought that it could have been. And that just might be because of Marvel's slate or their scheduling for their movies. Maybe this got pushed back, and maybe they did can it at one point, but then they're like, you know what, let's just put it out there because we love Scarlett and all that, and she's a great person. Her character has been resonated in Marvel for like a decade now. Why not do it? I just kind of felt that it wasn't the stakes in there, no matter what they were, couldn't probably make it that good. On top of the fact that it kind of toys around with being like an actual like a James Bond movie or a Mission Impossible movie, but it never really goes there. It just kind of stays being a Marvel superhero movie type of formula, but that's fine. But it's like Black Widow's not really a superhero. She can't really get from point A to point B at fucking like snap of a finger ease. She just can't. Because she'll die. She's not a superhero. Yeah, she has no powers. And it's just like they need to kind of go in that route. They needed to go in a more serious route in that, because it does feel like, okay, where's Hulk at? Where's this person? Where's this at? It just doesn't feel like that the movie itself held up to what it was. And that's not on Scarlett's fault. It might just be on the writers. I feel like they just kind of forgot that they were writing about Black Widow, I think. I don't know. It just kind of felt like the action was like set up for like somebody with powers. I don't know. It just felt like so freaking unrealistic and just kind of like just very silly at some points. I was just like, okay, this is fine, I guess. I thought that the accents in for every character, not just Scarlet or not just David Harbour, but everybody who did a Russian accent in this movie was absolutely terrible. I truly thought that every accent in this movie was terrible. Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, which I was surprised. She's incredible, but her accent was god awful. I couldn't stand any of the accents. The movie doesn't have as much comedy as any other Marvel movie, which is kind of like, which made it more serious. But even the serious parts, I didn't really care at all about. Just a weird plot too about like her stopping the evil guy who's behind all of the Black Widows and brainwashing them and chipping them to make him do whatever they want. It is clever. It is a tad bit clever at the end. I wasn't really expecting that, which I'm glad that they did that. I thought it was pretty clever in some parts, but overall, just kind of like, I hate to say it, but kind of filler. It would have been much more impactful if the story was, maybe wasn't told after Infinity War and Endgame, because I'll say this. I said this with Solo too. It's very hard to do a prequel with a character that you already know their fate. I said that with Han Solo, and I said that with this one too. It's very hard, and even in the prequels, Star Wars prequels, you know what happens at the end. You know, the moments are cool, but when you're watching them for the first time, you're like, if you haven't seen the Star Wars original trilogy, and then and you watch the prequels first, and then the original trilogy, if you haven't seen any of them, that's probably like the best feeling ever, because you actually get to watch how this all happens. But if you were like most people on this planet who saw the originals and then the prequels, you just can't get. It's hard to have that care when you know that Anakin's going to be Darth Vader, when you know that all these people have to die. It's very hard to be invested. And it's just because I don't know. They saw an opportunity to make more money, they went for it. Was it the best decision? I don't think so. Will they learn? I hope so. I wasn't trying to make it so negative Nancy there, but that's just how I felt about it. I enjoy the Black Widow character. I really do. I think that the new additions, if in those movies, like David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, and Florence Pugh, if they stick around, that could be cool. If they're going to be in future Marvel movies, that could be cool. But it's just, I don't know. It so badly wanted to be like James Bond or Mission Impossible, but they didn't do anything for it to be that intense and that hardcore. And Mission Impossible and James Bond are all PG-13, so I don't get why they couldn't go a little bit darker with it. Or like I don't know. I really don't. At the end of the day, it still seemed like a superhero movie, but without any superheroes. A superhero plot without any superheroes. And David Harbour, this is kind of a spoiler, but his character essentially is like Captain America, but for Russia. So yeah, you can say that he was a superhero in there, but it's not his movie. It's Black Widow's, and it did not feel like it could have been a Black Widow movie. It just felt like a superhero movie with Black Widow being the main character. And saying that, I just really wanted to see more espionage. Not so much and like planning missions, I guess you could say. Not as much of just bombastic action and her surviving every hit, which is like, okay, whatever. I mean, it's sounding like I absolutely hated it. I did not hate it, but I just didn't think it was that good. It was just very mediocre and just kind of there. Not as bad as Ant-Man and the Wasp or Guardians 2, but still pretty mediocre. I think I'm going to go with 6.2 for Black Widow. No, I'm changing that. 6.1. 6.1 for Black Widow. And I did not review the Last Duel yet. on this podcast, but I will right now. I give The Last Duel an 8.4. 8.4. No, 8.5. Sorry. If you've seen the tweet, you know. 8.5 out of 10 for The Last Duel. Very, very good. Highly recommend that you watch. It's a great movie. Great movie. Let's see. Moving on to sports. Let's just talk about the NFL real quick. Let's see. The Buccaneers beat the Eagles. Like, everybody in their right mind should have picked that for that to happen, because I don't think that the Eagles know who they are. And they kind of got lucky, though, that the Buccaneers got lucky that they actually won, because the Eagles made it pretty competitive, and they probably shouldn't have. The Dolphins lost to the Jaguars 23. I still don't trust Urban Meyer. I trust Trevor Lawrence. I don't trust Urban Meyer. The Packers beat the Bears 24-14. The Packers and Aaron Rodgers own the Bears. It's not even a question now. It's just not a question. It's actually pathetic how one man and one franchise could just absolutely own the other. It's embarrassing. And there's supposed to be a rivalry. It just does not seem like a rivalry at all. It just seems like one team just walks in the park. The Bengals beat the Lions 34-11. The Lions might be in big trouble here. Yeah, after Dan Quinn crying in public or at the press conference and just absolutely, whether you liked it or not, whether you stood for him or against him, there's no more room for crying. I mean, there might be room for crying at night, because your team is absolutely awful. They're awful. I mean, like, this team might go 0-17. They're incredibly bad. And I think that if every game you lose now, you should be mad. You shouldn't be crying about, at least we competed, because you did not compete in this game. And now your record is just slipping. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually fired Dan Campbell. I wouldn't, because this just can't continue. And I know I'm kind of sounding harsh, but after you cried and you hopefully motivated your team and that you said that you were behind your team, for them to come out and just score 11 points. I mean, they were down like 27. They were down 20 to, I don't even remember what the score was. It was like 27-0, and they kicked a field goal. I mean, in the fourth quarter, I was just like, what? Like, no. Even though you're losing by that much, you go for it, because you're already going to lose. Just go for it. Don't bring out your kicking squad to just kick a 3-point measly field goal. You should be trying to score the touchdown because at least that means you're trying harder than you already are. When you score a field goal, it just seems like to me, and you're down by so many, it's like you don't want to try hard enough to score more points. You just want to take the easy points. I get a bad vibe with that. I don't like that. But they're in trouble. He might be gone. He actually might be gone by the end of the year. The Texans lose to the Colts 31-3. The Texans are terrible. But at least they have a win. They're not completely losers. But they do not have a quarterback. Davis Mills continues to prove that he is not the man in charge. He just isn't. And that's fine. He doesn't need to be. He's Tyrod Taylor was playing really good, and unfortunately he got hurt. But it's not his fault, though. The team itself is also not very good. They're just not good. I don't know if you can fix it for the season. I mean, you could try, but I don't think that's going to be happening. The Rams beat the New York Giants 38-11. As expected, the Rams played very good. Matthew Stafford had 4 touchdowns, and I think that we could probably say that also. This is a bad. This has been a bad season for the Giants. This has been really bad. They're 1-5 now. They're not playing very well at all. Daniel Jones does not seem like the guy. He just doesn't seem like the guy. He threw like 2 picks, I think, in this game. Played pretty bad. No, 3 picks, actually. 242 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That's not good. I know that they have nobody else to play quarterback, really. Like, they have nobody else. But I don't think that this man is the answer at all. I really don't. I don't see how anybody could even see that either. Like, he's just not good. And I know this was the Rams and all that, but this is you playing at home. And if you only score 11 and they score 38, and you say that this is your guy, I don't know if he is, man. The proof is in the pudding. This isn't working. This has got to be red flags all over. Like, this cannot continue if you're the Giants. If Joe Judge does not see that this man, or maybe it's Joe Judge, maybe it's his coaching staff or something, or maybe it's play calling, but whatever it is just not working in New York. It's just not working. Moving on. Chiefs beat the Washington football team 31-13. The football team is in trouble. Is in very much trouble. They don't have a quarterback. Taylor Heineke is not the guy. He never was, and neither is Fitzpatrick. I mean, these guys were trying to start a season with 2 backup quarterbacks. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. They tried to play a season with 2 backups for their quarterbacks. It's not going to work. I mean, I know that Fitzpatrick is injured in game 1 and hasn't been back since, but there's no way that they thought that they could win these games with Taylor Heineke. I mean, even if the Chiefs have been like kind of slumping and just not themselves, like we all know that the Chiefs have not been that good. We all know that. They haven't. I don't know if that's play calling, the head coach, or Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what it is. It could be a mixture of both, but they're just not. The Chiefs are not performing how they should be against these teams. Even though that they won handedly, like, pretty, no fear at all. Like a 2-score game, more than a 2-score game. They don't seem that good. But again, neither does Washington. This just proves that, the further that the football team, the Giants, and the Eagles fall, it's just making it so easy for the Cowboys to just claim that division. And I've been saying this on this podcast. Pencil them in right now. If you haven't done it yet, do it right now. Pencil those Cowboys in because they are clearly the best team in that division. The Vikings beat the Panthers 34-28. The Vikings look better. They're on track. They're now 3-3. The Panthers are 3-3 as well. Vikings won 3 straight. The Panthers lost 3 straight. Sam Darnold might not be that good. That may not be the guy. He threw an opening pick, which is not a good sign for a quarterback who's not really a veteran, but has been in the league for a while and was drafted pretty highly, and thought of to be pretty highly as a starting quarterback. But he also might not be the guy in this situation. He might not be it either. But also the team isn't the greatest either. Like, they don't have the best receivers. They have a new head coach. There's not that much expected of them. If any of the expectation, they don't have Christian McCaffrey. If any of the expectations, they should be all on Sam Darnold because of his draft stock when he was drafted. But is maybe everybody was just wrong about this guy? I don't know. I don't want to think that every single person in the all the teams back in the day were wrong about Sam Darnold, but it's just looking that way. I mean, I can't point to anything else. He just might not be that good. This is very sad. For every quarterback that's been playing in this league, this might be the biggest, the hardest season quarterbacks have ever played. I mean, you got Daniel Jones being shit. You have Jameis Winston kind of struggling in New Orleans. You got Daniel Jones being bad, Sam Darnold being bad. Carson Wentz is not that great. Jared Goff has looked awful with the Lions. He's had like one good game. Trevor Lawrence is not great. Tua Tagovailoa is not very good. Jalen Hurts isn't that great. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that, a lot of starting quarterbacks who've had a very, very tough time in these games. I can't recall that many losses of that many big-name quarterbacks or that many, franchise quarterbacks that are having this much trouble within the first 6 weeks. I really can't. This is monumental struggle for these quarterbacks. Moving on, Justin Herbert, the Chargers lost to the Ravens, 34-6. This is a massive wake-up call. Massive. Los Angeles' defense sucks. Run defense, actually, is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Very non-existent, just letting them run the ball up. And if you have, Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell and your quarterback is Lamar Jackson, and you can't stop the run, you're going to lose this game. I'm sorry. And their defense played well. And credit where credit is due. Lamar Jackson is he's on another level this year. I mean, he only went for 19 for 27, 167 yards for 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, but he didn't need to do much of anything to win this game. Justin Herbert went 22 for 39, 195 yards, and a touchdown and a pick. Not the greatest performance, but again, they just the defense of the Ravens just ate up the Chargers offense, and then the Chargers just can't stop the run. So it's a combination of both. Again, I was talking about all the struggles of the quarterbacks, but Lamar Jackson's been really damn good this year. Cardinals beat the Browns 37-14. The Cardinals are so for real. I thought that they would lose this game because I think the Browns at home are just really good. But they lost Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt this game, so that they're pretty depleted on running backs. Baker did not look that great. I will say it. He's looked very good the past 2 years, mainly last year. He was electric, but this year he is going through injuries. He has a shoulder thing, which, as a quarterback, if you hear a shoulder injury, whether it be any shoulder, throwing, non-throwing, it's a bad thing because you need those shoulders to do any type of arm motion. Throwing, pivoting, whatever, you need those to work. And I know that he fell on an awkward fall on his shoulder, popped it out, he popped it back in, but that shit is the popping in, popping out, the popping out, popping in thing is not for the long term. I think you need to get that like looked at to make sure nothing else is damaged, because you can pop it in, out and in, and you know it'd be fine for the rest of that day maybe, but it's gonna get sore. You might have torn something, you might have damaged something. You don't know. I mean, you got to go and check that out. So if it's actually pretty bad, he could be missing some games. In this case, the Browns look like they could be sliding. They're 3-3 right now. I know that we got a long season to go, 11 more games, but it's not looking very good. And meanwhile, the Cardinals are just dominating teams. Dominating. I mean, Kyler Murray, dude. Kyler Murray is legit. He's having the same type of year as like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen back in a couple years ago. He's having an enormous year. He went for 20 for 30 for 229 yards with 4 touchdowns and 0 picks. And then you think about who's on that team. DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Rondell Moore, JJ Watt. This team is stacked. Like, this team is Chandler Jones. This guy, this is probably, I heard it on Part of My Take, but I think this is right. This might be an actual NFL super team. Like for real here. Like this team is awesome. Yes, they had a little bit of a hiccup against San Francisco. Didn't lose it, but had a little bit of a scare. But still, an amazing performance by the Cardinals in every way, shape, and form. The Raiders beat the Broncos 34-24. I think the Raiders are legit now. I think they are. Again, I'm not going to comment on the John Gruden scenario. I'm sure you can find many other people talking about it, but I do think that aside from that email shit, I personally did not think that John Gruden was a good coach for the Raiders. I believe I said that a couple podcasts ago. But I think that his style and his way of coaching and his football might be past him. It's a different game now. It's not like it was back in the early 2000s and the late 90s. It's just not like that anymore. It isn't. They throw the ball more. They don't use fullbacks as much. They don't play your scheme of offenses anymore. It's different now. And I honestly think that, with this first game with Rick Bisaccia as the interim head coach, I thought that he actually coached them well. This might have been like the first game, I think, in this entire season where they weren't like scoreless or trailing after the first half, I think. They were actually leading after the first half. Like, they were leading 17-7 after the first half. And then they scored 14 in the third quarter and then 3 in the fourth. And they were never behind, I think. Yeah, they were never behind, which is a good sign. One, that Bisaccia can coach in the NFL, be a head coach, and then two, that their team was able to respond and fight and play for Bisaccia. So, I look at this and I'm thinking, this might be a good thing. Maybe it was Gruden holding them back. Maybe it was. I don't know. A lot of people like to point at Derek Carr. A lot of people like to point out the offense, the defense. Maybe it was John Gruden. I don't know for sure. But all I know is after one game with Rick Bisaccia, and I know this could be just a thing that where like their emotions are high, they want to play for Bisaccia and get him that first win. But it feels like he might have been holding them back a bit. He might have been holding them back. We'll see how it goes, but I don't know. Maybe it was Gruden. Remember his first season back with the Raiders? He went like 4. I think they went like 4-12. I think it was really bad. His first year back, it was like a disaster. Like they gave up on games and just didn't play well. I know it's his first year and all that. But it was like one of the worst first-year quarterback or coaches who's coached in this league before as a head coach with the Raiders and the Buccaneers, coming back to play football or coach football, who just absolutely got embarrassed. I don't think that anybody's gotten that embarrassed as a returning head coach. Like, first year ever, yeah, I think so. But that was just, I remember that season. That was very pathetic of them. Because, not being a Raiders fan, I still enjoyed John Gruden back then, calling Monday night games and all that. And when he was coming back, I'm like, oh, that's a cool fit. That's nostalgic. But it's like, do you guys have this mentality where you think that you can only win games with John Gruden? I know you just had, before that you had Jack Del Rio and actually went to the playoffs. I know he didn't go out that strongly, but he did it. Well, why did you fire him and get Gruden after, one bad season, really? Or maybe two, I'm not sure. But it just kind of felt like we can't win with any coach today. We got to go and hire our old buddy John Gruden to come back and save us from this misery we've been having for the last 15 years or so at that time. So it's just, in my eyes, it's kind of weak football. It's a weak mentality. It's an old mentality that I think needed to be rid of. And it was a shame of the way that it went out, because he might never coach again. But that's just how it went down. And if that's what it took for them to be rid of this nostalgic chasing thing, then in hiring Bisaccia and seeing how he's absolutely loving everything about being a head coach for the Raiders is just, maybe it was for the best. Maybe, in a way, getting fired and, getting away from Gruden was, in fact, the best thing that the Raiders have done, maybe since they hired him. Again, we don't know if it's going to carry for the rest of the season, but, if it does, and Bisaccia is, really good, hell, man, I don't know. Who's to blame then? I'm not sure. The Broncos again. Just to touch on the Broncos, they've kind of come back down to earth. They're now 3-3. The Raiders are 4-2 on the season. The Raiders are I think they're tied with the Chargers now for the best team in the AFC West. So yeah, they are. So that's going to be an interesting thing. What's going to happen now? Like I said, Derek Carr played very well. He went 18 for 27 with 341 yards. That's a lot of yards for not that many completions. That's pretty damn good. Cowboys beat the Patriots 35-23 or 29. Sorry. Dak played good. He strained his calf at the end of the play. The ending heroic play. Mac Jones had an interception towards the end, but then came back with a touchdown to tie it up. But you still can't make that mistake, even if you're going to come back and score a touchdown on the first play. You shouldn't be doing that. That's raising blood pressures of coaches that shouldn't be happening that bad. But he is still a rookie. He's going to get better. It seemed like they let him throw it a lot farther this game than in previous games, so I think he's getting his leash loosened a bit. Dak looked really well. CeeDee Lamb actually was like really, really good this game. 9 receptions, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is like what we've always wanted from CeeDee Lamb. I know we didn't get it that much because of Dak Prescott getting injured last season, but you could tell that this is what they saw when they drafted CeeDee Lamb. This is exactly what they wanted. This is what they know that he can do, what he's capable of, and this is what they think that he can do in the future. And it's just, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I do think that this is very, very something that you would have been dreaming to see since you guys last had Dez Bryant wearing the 88 jersey. And then before that was Michael Irvin and all them boys doing all that. You want to see the 88 Cowboys wide receiver do well. And I think CeeDee Lamb is the next coming of the Michael Irvins, the Dez Bryants of the league. The Patriots, again, didn't play that great. Mac Jones, again, made a crucial mistake. And I think that this would have been if the Cowboys were lucky to win this game. Because if they lost, I don't think that we would have been calling them. I don't think that we would have, been praising them as much as we have if they lost this game. But they didn't. They won, and now they're 5-1. The Steelers beat the Seahawks 23-20. I barely watched this game. I was watching the baseball game on Sunday night, but the Steelers aren't dead yet. The Seahawks could be if Russell Wilson doesn't come back from the finger injury. Who knows? I think that it's possible that he could be missing a few more weeks with that. I mean, it is the finger of the throwing arm, so a throwing hand. So it's not a pretty situation for him to be in. But it could, if they catch fire at the right time, they could make a run here. I think that they're not going to win their division. I don't think they have. They're not going to beat the Cardinals. I doubt it, but they could make a run to be in second place. The 49ers aren't that good, and neither are the. Actually, they might not make it actually, because the Rams are also very good. So this is going to be tough for them. This is going to be very, very tough. The Bills beat the Titans again. I was not watching this game. So I didn't really catch it most of it. I just saw that Josh Allen played very well, but he did, at the end of the game, he did slip to not advance the ball to get another first down to hopefully extend the game to eventually win the game. That sucks, but that's just football. That's just what happens in football. It sucks. It's not good. I wish it would not have ended that way, but it did. The Titans stay alive. They miraculously are 4-2 at this moment. Now, after the first game of the season, I would not have pictured them to be 4-2, but they are. So I got to give credit where credit is due. They've been battling. I think that they know that a lot of people don't think that they're real at all. So they got a chip on their shoulder. They're not letting it get to their head. They're putting their face down and just playing football and winning these games. I mean, Again, I thought that the Bills would win outright, but they haven't. They didn't. And the Titans just prove that, that they have the best running back in the league in Derrick Henry. I mean, 20 yards, 20 carries, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns just solidifies that this guy is just a monster. And I've heard people say, and like I kind of agree with this, but like he's a very tall running back. And that's kind of like why he doesn't get as many yards, is because he's so tall. There's so much of him that you can tackle. Whereas you go from like a little guy who's got a low center of gravity and not as big, can squeeze through holes and fit through gaps and just kind of like squirt around and get around like the defenders and like the linebackers. This guy, it's a little bit trickier because he is gigantic. But he's able to do it, though. He's playing amazing. He's playing such good football. He's just running the ball up and down the field, getting so many carries, so many yards, and another 3-touchdown game. This is just incredible from a running back. If you have him in fantasy, and like very beginning of the season, he wasn't very good. Now he's just outright being a monster. Now it's just going to come down to if their defense on the Titans and if Ryan Tannehill, I don't really trust him all that much. I have to say, he's a good quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is good, but he's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's more on the cusp of a Jay Cutler type of thing, where he will throw a pick when you need him not to. It's cool to throw. It's fine to throw a couple picks, but if you really need to not throw a pick, he might throw a pick, and that'll be terrible. It's not a good thing. You want to avoid that at all costs. But I get a little bit of a. He's usually due every game to throw at least one pick. And that's not great. I'm not trying to be negative about this man, Ryan Tannehill, but I just feel like whenever the other team needs a break, Ryan Tannehill gives them that break. And that's got to change. Moving on, I guess we can talk about baseball. I just want to go back in time real quick. Go back in time and kind of talk about a little bit about the win against the Giants on last week. So, like I said, last week on Thursday, we played in the NLDS championship game, to move on to the NLCS and, face the Braves. And a lot of people were, chirping on Twitter about how much, some people were saying how much they hated the Dodgers because they won that game. And that we moved on, and if you didn't know, at the end of the game, Max Scherzer was on the mound, pitching to close the game and to seal that win. And Wilmer Flores of the Giants is up to bat, and he checks his swing, clearly checks it. He doesn't swing through. It doesn't look like a swing at all in a replay. In slow motion, he clearly does check his swing to not, swing. The first base umpire calls him out. The game ends. We win, we move on. And just all the absolute hate that I've been seeing at the against my Dodgers is just, it's actually kind of funny. Not in the fact that it's about, that it's that I'm happy that they're mad. No, but they're happy. They're mad to the wrong people. Why are you mad about the Dodgers when you should be mad about the umps? They made the call. You don't got to be pissy about the Dodgers. Don't hate us. Hate the umpires. Because I guarantee you, if that's called a check swing and he's not out, I still believe that Scherzer punches out Flores. I guarantee you that. I guarantee, his Scherzer's numbers against Flores are incredible. Like Scherzer owns Flores. They even previous game, I think it was game 3 or something like that. They benched Flores because Scherzer absolutely owns him. It's not the odds are not very good. Now I know that anything could happen. Wilmer Flores could have swung and beaten us right there because Chris Bryant got on base. He was going to be the game-winning home run. That would have been the game-winning runs. I understand that. But I still think that Scherzer would have punched out Flores. Without a question. Without a question. So don't be mad at the Dodgers. Don't be mad at me as a fan either. Be mad at the umpires. All this trash talk about, fuck the Dodgers, man. I'm rooting for anybody else but the Dodgers. What the fuck is all that about? What the fuck? Don't be mad at us. Just because we benefited off that blown check swing call, it's not our fault. It's the umpire's fault. What the hell's wrong with you? Anyways, just venting about that because that was absolutely hilarious of just how many people are so mad at that. So mad at the Dodgers. The Dodgers of, like, you're not directing your anger to the person who is responsible for the outcome of that game. I'm sorry, but you aren't. You're not communicating that well, bro. All right, I'm moving on to the NLCS portion of the show. I was at Game 4. It was electric. It was crazy. It was intense. Got there early because the traffic was going to be killer if we didn't get there on time. Easy to get in. We got some really decent seats, like right in front of like where the rich people sit in the stadium. Like, right before, like right in behind where there's like tables and like you can get drinks served to you and food served to you. It was right before, like right behind that. So we saw some very rich people there. I saw Todd Gurley there. He was there. He was supporting the Dodgers. He was rooting for the Dodgers. Actually, he got a lot of people coming at the end of the game to come in, get pictures and get autographs and all that. I was like right in front of, like right behind him too. Like, so, like, when he was leaving, he just got, like, a bunch of people just came up and were like, hey, Todd, can I get a signature here? Can I get a signature there? And, like, it was crazy. I did not get a chance to say hi to him. I thought that I just let him be his, he's just trying to get out of the stadium like everybody else. He's just trying to watch the game like everybody else. I'm not going to ruin it for him. But, anyway, to the game. The Dodgers, a terrible performance. Just a mediocre, very soft, not competitive, very, very not a fun performance to watch, and not a fun team to watch in Game 4. It was very... we were getting like no hit up until the bottom of the 5th inning, and then we got some hits, and that's when we actually scored a couple of runs, and that was just so much fun to see. The energy was just popping off when Pollock hit the double and he cleared the bases, and then the 2 runs scored in. But other than that, it was just bad. It was very lackluster. Nobody really hit. Our top hitters went pretty much 0 for 4. Mookie Betts went 0 for 4. Corey Seager was 0 for 3. Trey Turner was 0 for 4. Will Smith was 0 for 4. Gavin Lux 0 for 2. Only people who got hits were Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, AJ Pollock, and Albert Pujols. That's it. We only mustered 4 hits in this 9-2 absolute beatdown of us, and now we move on to Game 5, which is going to be today. And I gotta say, this has been the tale of two teams. It really has been this entire postseason. There's times where we can score runs and put together at bats and actually be competitive, and then there's other times that we just can't do anything, and we can't even hit. We can't get on base. We chase all these pitches. We try to go for the home run ball, and it never works. And it keeps on happening. And I've been telling everybody this about this team. It seems to be the case every game this postseason. I don't know what it is or what their mentality is or their approach, but it needs to change. And I don't know if you need to shake up the lineup even more. I know that Justin Turner got hurt, so he's going to be out for next game. He's actually done for the rest of the postseason, so that's going to be strange. But we no longer have that much firepower now. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't think we're going to beat the Braves tomorrow or today. I really don't. I just think that Atlanta is just rolling. They've seen all of our bullpen pitchers, so they know how to hit them. They know how to play against them. There's no really any advantage that we have, really. Julio looked pretty bad. He gave up 3 home runs today and just looked awful. and he had to go with the innings because we just don't have anybody else to pitch. I mean, if you look at our starting rotation, we got Scherzer, Urias, and then Buehler, and that's about it. And then it's just bullpen. That's all it is. We don't have Kershaw. We don't have Dustin May. Trevor Bauer's gone. Everybody on that Atlanta team has seen all of our pitchers and what we can muster up, and it was just we're really just grasping at straws here. We're literally like on the brink of destruction, and this team is on the brink of elimination, and I don't see that we have any ideas or anything that we can do to change that. We've tried the Gavin Lux injection, and that's, it's worked a couple times, but today I gotta say, like, he had one good hit that could have been out, could have been a home run, but it wasn't. But for the most part, the team just put together bad at-bats, and that's just been that's been a very consistent thing this entire postseason for us. We have these games where we have terrible at-bats, and we just can't find a way to hit around them, get people on base, get players into scoring position. We have not been able to do that consistently in this series, or even this entire postseason. So I think, and I hate to say it, but I think that our luck has run dry, and that we just kind of hit a brick wall now. I hope and pray that it changes tomorrow. I'm not going to be at that. I hope and pray that it does change today, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough for it to make a difference. I think that we're pretty much stretched to the limit here. We don't really have any other answers when, even in game 3 when Julio not game 3 game 3 game 2 when Julio blew the lead, and I was concerned, like, why even put him in that position to do that? We're gonna need him fresh as we can, fresh as possible. Even though we have like I said, a bad rotation at the moment, we can't afford to use him in this situation. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense. And I know that I'm not the manager and I'm not the pitching coach or whatever, but we are so, like I said, short-handed on pitchers and starting pitchers and bullpen, all of it. We're just short. And the more that we use these bullpen pitchers in the games, I feel like it's just giving the Braves more at-bats and more chances to see out the pitchers and being able to get hits off of them. And I think it's caught up to us. I mean, we were able to escape with it against San Francisco, but now that we're playing a 7-game series, it's not going to work out. I know it's tough. I know it's probably very negative of me to say that, but I don't see any other way that this is going to pull this out. I know we were down 3-1 last year in the NLCS. I get that, but we just don't have the firepower in terms of pitching this year as we did last year. I know last year we had Kershaw, we had Urias, we had Buehler, we had May, Gonsolin, we had David Price. We don't have those type of people that could start games or take up bulks of innings. I mean, Bickford yesterday did well. He went a couple innings, but I think an entire inning. No, a couple innings. My bad. He went a couple innings, which was good, but it's just not enough. It's not enough. And Justin Turner went down with a hamstring injury, and I mean, Mookie Betts and, like I said, everybody's just not hitting well. I don't see that we can pull this out today. Again, I know it sounds negative, but after we beat San Francisco, after that, the blown check swing that how I was just talking about, however you want to look at it, whatever you want to see, we moved on. But now we're facing a team that's, not as good as San Francisco on paper, and that we should, technically be beating them handsomely in terms of Atlanta. But I think that we're just out of gas. Now we might be coming to a crashing halt in today's game. So, I mean, the game was fun. Like I said, I saw Todd Gurley. He was getting, a lot of attention from people. Not necessarily about being a Rams player, but being a Georgia Bulldog. I said there was also, like, Braves fans there who were like, maybe they came from Atlanta or maybe are Bulldog fans, the Georgia Bulldogs, that is. And, we're just like, hey, Gurley, what's up, man? How you doing? I mean, in the end, though, my very first postseason game at Dodger Stadium was, but aside from us losing and getting, wiped out, basically, it was a lot of fun. A lot of energy, a lot of fun. When it gets going there, man, it gets going, and you just feel the electricity there, and it feels awesome. Like, again, like I said, I wish we won the game, but still being able to go there to a postseason game in the NLCS, man, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. And I'm not going to regret. I don't regret going. I know before when I thought that we were going to lose Game 3, I was like, I'm not going to go to this game because I don't want to see them lose. And potentially, if we did lose Game 3, and then we lost today, I would have been even more mad than I am right now. Like, I am mad, but I'm not like furious yet. I mean, we still have a slight sliver chance of hope. I know that this team can bounce back when we're down and our backs are against the wall. But it just seems like a gigantic task at this moment that it might be just out of reach. But we'll see today. We'll see if we can pull it out. Again, the game 5 is tonight at 5. Dodger Stadium. Won't be going to that game, but hopefully that they can pull it out of their ass. Hopefully that they can actually compete and actually perform well, or at least better than they did in Game 4. So, yeah. And I gotta... it was really funny is because there was some guy behind us who was, clearly, I think, drunk. And he was just screaming about, like, hit the damn ball already, man. What the fuck you doing? And as soon as Trey Turner came up, he's like, this guy, you won the batting title, man. Hit the ball. I mean, I was like, this guy is repeating, is just like how I feel. Because, everybody was talking about Trey Turner, like, towards the end of the season. Like, he had, like, a 19-game hitting streak and all that. And once he got to the postseason, the wild card game and then San Francisco, now Atlanta, just been absolute dog shit. He's done nothing for this team, offensively. Pretty much nothing. And, I'm confused of why. I mean, why were you batting so hot before, but now you just come to a screeching halt? Like, it's just, I'm confused. But again, this could all change with one game. Like, today's game could be a miracle. We come back, we storm back, we pick our heads up, and we just charge forward. Like, I hope that happens today, but I'm not going to bet on it. I can't bet on it. I can't get my hopes up because I had my hopes up in Game 4. And it kind of let me down. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are keeping up and enjoying the content that I'm putting out and the episodes that I'm putting out. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Again, if you don't know, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, and you can watch it on YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva, and that comes out every Thursday. Remember to like the video, share the podcast, rate the podcast, 5-star rating, and write a review if you want to. Give me some feedback, and thanks again for listening. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys back next week.